For years, people have asked for a remake of 0079 and it never happens. Yet here we are in 2025 and I'm seeing CHAR AZNABLE and a recreation of the first episode of Gundam right before my eyes, and I am ecstatic. This is what I was excited for you guys to see last week, and I was trying to not reveal too much so it wouldn't spoil you guys. I mean, sure, we got Gundam The Origin, but that wasn't the same thing. In fact, we thought we would get something like a remake once The Origin ended. What G Quacks managed to do is something I didn't expect though. Although this is an alternate universe, again, they literally kept everything from the original series, from the OST to the narrator in the movie version, not in the series for some reason. The scenes, like they have some of the same scenes, some of the same lines, the commercial cars, the little shoo when it went to the commercials, just everything. And it really did feel like I was watching Mobile Suit Gundam again for the first time. So the way that they were able to take this new series and just mesh it into something old and make it feel refreshing and new. G Quacks is already on a good start and I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. Again, just like I said last time, the only criticism I have is that I think the movie version of the beginning was a little bit more structured, and maybe, I mean, it was a movie, but here in the States, it probably wasn't available to everybody. I think it probably would have been better off if they did like episode 0, like how Wish for Mercury did with that, like maybe an OVA, so it would have been a little bit more accessible. Then they could have just got into the story, because the way things are structured now, it is a little bit weird. But once again, we got Anno on this, and we've seen what he's done with Evangelion. We've seen what he's done with Shin, like Godzilla, Shin Ultraman, and all the Shin things. And what he did with the rebuild of Eva made me an Eva fan, because I was one of the few people who didn't like that series. But what he was able to do with the rebuild movies and then making it all make sense, I mean, I'm gonna trust him. I think he managed to write the first episode of Gundam from CHAR'S perspective. And we learned last week that in this universe, Zeon won the war. Now we know how, because the literal Darth Vader of the Gundam franchise actually stole the RX-78 Gundam and won the war. I mean, single-handedly, pretty much. And this is insane. CHAR was already broken. I mean, he was doing the things that he was doing in a regular ass Zaku, not a Gundam. You have to keep that in mind every time you hear about this man and his lore. Now we're getting the story where he took the OG Gundam, painted red, and just changed the entire magnitude of the Gundam mythos, just with a small tweak of making this an alternate universe. I also find it hilarious that the Federation just left the damn war weapon running with the damn keys in it. Even CHAR was like, oh, for real? Y'all just gonna leave this open? So that engineer, this is pretty much their fault for leaving that thing just unmanned and turned on like that so anybody can just jump in it, because the wrong person definitely got into that machine. But now I've had my theories that G Quacks is going to end up being canon UC, but I think it would accomplish this in a way that we are seeing like more of a Newtype vision. I think, like, even though this is an alternate universe, I think this, we know it's a what if, but I think it's going to be a what if from like something that changed everything, like with the OG series. I mean, I could just see Anno doing something like that. And when it's all said and done, you know, G Quacks is still going to go its own way. It's going to have its own ending and everything, but somehow I think it's also going to tie into the proper timeline. I mean, the fact that CHAR is in a Gundam is so broken that they basically had to write him out. That just shows how prominent he is. I feel that whenever this Kira is mentioned or wherever it is, we'll end up being in a gateway to actual canon. We'll just have to see what Anno's cooking. But if he wanted to go back and actually finish 0079, because that series never did finish, it got cut short, I would be all for that. I mean, yes, it concluded. We got Zeta Gundam and a bunch of other things in the UC after it, but it was initially supposed to be a longer series, and it was short by a few episodes. So just maybe Anno's cooking up to actually give the original Gundam a conclusion somehow. We'll have to see. But anyway, episode 2 in the movie for G Quacks was actually episode 1. So what we're seeing here came first if you saw the theater version. Then we shifted back to Machu. I still think the way the movie made was more sense, but once we do get back to that after seeing CHAR'S greatness, it just felt like it was at home again. It really does feel like they're molding the two together pretty well. We'll have to see where it's going. I think it's some things missing that they're going to have to go back to. But as far as the episode itself, because I basically talked about nothing but the UC so far and how good of a remake it was, we see CHAR and his troops storm the Federation base, taking advantage of their lack of defenses. So CHAR uses this opportunity to seize a little bit of glory. In the midst of destroying the base and the Federation's weapons, CHAR stops his troops from destroying one unit in particular, which was the almighty Gundam. That again, the Federation just left open and unmanned. I mean, someone's ass is going to be fired after this. You pretty much won the war for the Zeon by your carelessness. Something needs to be done. This whole thing is all this person's fault, whoever that was. But anyway, even CHAR was like, Gundam? What the hell kind of name is that? That's trash, bro. Seriously. I mean, he didn't say it in those exact words, but you get it. The Federation did try to fight back, and they sent out the newly designed GN suits that you can see from G Quacks. But overall, CHAR was just too much for them, and he made light work and just escapes with this thing. There are a lot of shots and callbacks to when Amuro first got into the Gundam back in the OG Gundam to fight off the Zeon. But again, we're seeing this from CHAR's perspective. So I'll say it one more time. Sunrise, please remake 0079. Please, you don't have to go all in. You don't have to remake 0079 and Zeta, even though I would love that too. But give the fans what they want. I mean, you guys always give the fans what they want. Just give us more. I know it's greedy, but I just want to see it, especially after seeing this. So from here, CHAR basically gets the suit. He paints the suit red and just causes havoc throughout the rest of the war. I mean, these dudes even took the white base, so they can launch the Gundam out of the catapult just like you would see with Gundam, except now it's just Zeon doing it. I mean, it's just unfair. CHAR also makes small digs at the whole series that we know and love. At one point, he was like, this is the first mobile suit battle in history, and it was kind of anticlimactic. He also takes a big dig at the RX-78 by being white and states that maybe this suit was supposed to be a decoy, which is a joke I always had about the series too. Like, all of the suits are like tactical in color until you see that bright multicolored suit coming across the field that's clearly the main character. Then it's lights out for everybody. But one twist that is interesting is without the Gundam, we see that the Federation is now using Zaku's, so that's interesting. So this whole universe is flipped from what we know. CHAR ended up being approached in one of the space battles by a GM that does actually give him a run for his money. So when I saw this, I thought that was going to be Amuro as the pilot. But it seems he isn't around yet in this universe. I'm pretty sure he's around. Maybe his fate just didn't turn him to a pilot. But I want to know where he is. I mean, we got all these other characters around. We need to see some of the Federation characters too, Where's Amuro? Where's Bright? Where's Hayato? Where are these guys right now? Is it because CHAR took the Gundam that they never got drove into the war, or what's going on? But other than that, we go into about 5 minutes of exposition with name drops and battle references that were clearly made for old school Gundam fans in this new adaptation. And for someone who watching this for the first time, they're not going to know who Kycilia is, or the importance of Garma, or what the Battle of Solomon or Bioaku was. And they go by it pretty quick too, unless they're going to backtrack, but I don't see them covering all that ground. Or even just the 1 year war in general. I mean, they kind of cliff note what it is and that the Zeon win it, but they talk about it in a sense that they're expecting the viewer to already have this prior knowledge, which a majority of them probably will. But you also have to consider that you have a whole new audience, a whole new generation, a whole new couple of generations watching this series. Some good things though, we do get to see how close Lieutenant Bull and CHAR became overall, because overall they both just want to change the world and make a world where, things are a little bit less corrupt and power hungry. And that's one of the things I always loved about Gundam. There really isn't a bad side. I mean, there is some buttholes on Zeon, but a lot of them are just on the other side of war, and they actually just want things too. Like, a lot of them are just fighting for the freedom of the space noise, for example. So we start to see that relationship building, and we start to see more of the seeds of why Lieutenant Bull is looking for CHAR. So we get a little bit of backstory on that. But we also get a glimpse of how impactful Char has been to the series when it's explained that he's a new type because of how advanced his reflexes are, how good his intuition is, and how much of a beast he is as far as his piloting ability. People believe that he is the one person who can just change the history of everything with his abilities, and we saw that can definitely be true. Even to this day in Gundam lore, there's always a masked character who's the cream of the crop and often straddles the line between peace and revolution, depends on what side they're on. He asked if there were any other new types that were around, but the scene kind of cut away and we didn't get a reveal of who was said. We know Machu is one for sure, but I wonder if Amuro was mentioned. That's something that I think they left like that on purpose, so maybe it opens up the door to see more people. We also get an explanation of what the Psycho Mu is for the viewers. It's a system that enhances cognitive abilities as well as allow the suit to control remote drone-like weapons via their mind called funnels that even the Minovsky particles can interrupt, which is the energy source in the Gundam universe that powers the Gundams. Char was able to take down the entire fleet just with the Psycho Mu and the funnels as well. And Kycilia looked at that and she was like, I wonder if we can mass produce this to take over everything. Because it goes back, like some people are just straight up evil in Gundam and some, are just the dogs of war and want good things. They're just on the other side. Yeah, Kycilia's evil. So, but in the midst of all that, we get another twist that is the Federation this time that tried to drop the Solomon colony. And yeah, that's just a thing in Gundam. It's like whenever the chips are down, whenever the Zeon was losing, it was like, let's drop a colony. Let's do that because let's just destroy things. That'll work, right? Fuck it. Just destroy the planet, colony, whatever you're doing. But to see that the Federation is actually doing this, they really did just turn everything on its ear. However, Char's new type abilities was so strong that they went out of control, causing an incident called Zek Nova. The energy that he displayed was so vast that it single-handedly diverted the colony. And we kind of saw this, and I know I'm going off a little bit, but this is kind of what happened at the end of Char's counterattack with Char and Amuro. And that's like what happened with them. And I'll get to my point in that in a little bit. So the Federation saw like what he did and was just like, nah fam, you got it, truce, war's over. Thus, the famous one-year war ended off the victory of the legendary Char and his Gundam. However, Char and his Gundam disappeared in a flash and was never seen again, thus making it even more mysterious that the Red Gundam is back without him. And the point that I was getting at about Char's counterattack, this is the same thing that happened at the end of Char's counterattack. It's like Amuro and Char, as well as other Zeon and Federation troops, kind of got together to stop this big meteor from falling that Char was gonna do. It was Minovsky particles and it was their new type abilities that stopped the thing from falling. But in the midst of that, Char and Amuro just disappeared and you never seen them again in Gundam lore. That like closed the book on those two characters, even though we had more UC series like, Turn A, we had Unicorn after that. But we're looking at a similar thing here where Char stopping Solomon from falling with his new type abilities and he just disappears. But we also know that he could possibly be in this Kira space that Machu seen, or it could go completely Ano and his soul is in the Red Gundam or something. That's always a possibility too. I mean, he can't be completely gone. I would crack up if he is actually comes back and he like disguises himself as Lieutenant Quato Vagina just like he did in Zeta. That would be pretty cool too. But after that happened, now our story with Machu begins and we go into episode 3. So that's going to be interesting because like it looks like from the preview we're going to see more of the clan battle. Also, I really like how even though it seems like G Quacks is doing his own thing, in the back we still have the war going on. So it opens up a lot of possibilities for teasers, Easter eggs, things like that. Like we can start seeing characters from Zeta because it's a little bit further on in the series. We can see some of the OG people. I'm just excited for where this show is going. And we still have one more episode to go that's the movie covered. So we really won't get to truly unseen content till episode 4. But we're here either way. So guys, I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. For a majority of this, I was just gushing about how well this episode was done and how I really want to see a remake of 0079. But if you're new to Gundam, let me know what you thought of this. If you got any questions or anything, feel free to hit me up in the comments, let me know. I'm going to go ahead and get up out of here. So as I always say, you guys can be anywhere on YouTube right now, but you chose to listen to me. I really appreciate that, so thanks for stopping by. On that note, it's your boy Scott signing out. See you soon.